Okay, ready when you are, Prabhu? Actually, we'll chant the invocation to begin, so that's in the introduction. Sorry to jump in. So, we've got 3 volunteers so far for reading. If anyone else wants to add their name, great. So I can sing this song. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. We're ready to begin when you are. Thank you.
Okay. The nature of the mind is flickering. Sometimes it accepts something and immediately it rejects the same thing. Accepting and rejecting is the process of the mind in contact with the 5 objects of sense gratification: form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. In a speculative way, the mind comes in touch with the objects of sense gratification. When the living entity desires a particular type of body, he gets it. Therefore, the body is an offering by the laws of material nature. The living entity accepts a body and comes out again into the material world to enjoy or suffer according to the construction of the body. Unless we have a particular type of body, we cannot enjoy or suffer according to our mental proclivities inherited from the previous life. The particular type of body is actually offered to us according to our mental condition at the time of death. The luminous planets like the sun, moon, or stars reflect themselves in different types of reservoirs, like water, oil, or ghee. The reflection moves according to the movement of the reservoir. The reflection of the moon is on the water, and the moving water makes the moon also appear to be moving. But actually the moon is not moving. Similarly, by mental concoction, the living entity attains different kinds of bodies, although actually he has no connection with such bodies, but on account of illusion, being enchanted by the influence of Maya, the living entity thinks that he belongs to a particular type of body. That is the way of conditional life. Suppose a living entity is now in a human form of body. He thinks that he belongs to the human community or a particular country or particular place. He identifies himself in that way and unnecessarily prepares for another body, which is not required by him. Such desires and mental consciousness are the cause of different types of bodies. The covering influence of material nature is so strong that the living entity is satisfied in whatever body he gets. And he identifies with the body with great pleasure. Therefore, I beg to request you not to be overwhelmed by the dictation of your mind and body.
I'll just pause there. So maybe we could just take a moment to recap what we've covered in the previous week to understand where this conversation is coming from. And then we can pick out some key points which you've taken from these 2 paragraphs. So does anyone remember, first of all, what conversation is happening, where we left off? So for those who just joined us, we've just finished with the paragraph ending the dictation of your mind and body, if you've just joined us. So this is actually a conversation between Vasudeva and Kamsa. So it's taking place at a wedding ceremony, the wedding of Vasudeva and Devaki. So they've just got married, and Kamsa is the sister of Devaki. He is about to attack Devaki at her wedding ceremony because he has heard from a voice in the sky that the eighth son of Devaki will kill him. So Kamsa, being very afraid of that bad omen, or seemingly bad omen, he's threatened the life of Devaki. We finished last week's discussion with a few points on how Vasudeva is trying to convince Kamsa to be reasonable and not kill Devaki. So this is one of the points being made here about the nature of the mind. Okay, and then the next paragraph was about, well, it's about the reflection of mental concoction, the result of like the agitated mind, right? So is there any points that anyone could pick out of those two paragraphs which stood out for you? One thing which stood out for me was when we did the Bhagavad Gita reading, there was a nice definition of karma by Krishna. I think it was in chapter 13, although I can't remember exactly now, where Arjuna asked Krishna, what is karma? And Krishna in a single sentence says that karma is activity which results in another body. So anything you do, which is going, any small activity or big, that you do that results in having to take birth again, then that is called karma. So that kind of reminded me of this first paragraph, because this sentence is there. The living entity accepts a body and comes out again into the material world to enjoy or suffer according to the construction of the body. So it reminded me of that. So like the body is the manifestation of the mind. Like the way we think now is the type of body we'll get, right? So in a very in a very gross way, we could say, if I eat and eat and eat, my mind wants to enjoy the food so much, then my body's going to become very big. It's just a very gross explanation, but in so many ways we do things, we think of things. Things start with ideas, right? We have ideas, and then we have a plan, and then we decide what things we need to make the action happen, and that results in karma. Yeah. So this is all due to the agitated mind, all these different activities. Does anyone else would like to share any thoughts? Any particular sentences that stood out, or anything you can relate to? Or questions? I can see you all thinking there, so I don't want to rush you. Yes,
Shall I
please.
continue? Vasudeva thus requested Kamsa not to be envious of his newly married sister. One should not be envious of anyone, because envy is the cause of fear, both in this world and in the next. When one is before Yamraj, the lord of punishment after death, Vasudeva appealed to Kamsa on behalf of Devaki. Stating that she was his younger sister, he also appealed at an auspicious moment at the time of marriage. A younger sister or brother is supposed to be protected as one's child. The position is overall so delicate, Vasudeva reasoned, that if you kill her, it will go against your high reputation. In this way, Vasudeva tried to pacify Kamsa by good instruction as well as by the philosophical discrimination. But Kamsa was not to be pacified because his association was demoniac. Because of his demonic association, he was a demon. Although born in a very high royal family, a demon never cares for any good instruction. He's just like a determined thief. One can give him moral instruction, but it will not be effective. Similarly, those who are demonic or atheistic by nature can hardly assimilate any good instruction, however authorized it may be. This is the difference between the demigods and the demons. Those who can accept good instructions and try to live their lives in that way are called demigods. And those who are unable to take good instructions are called demons. Failing in his attempt to pacify Kamsa, Vasudeva wondered how he would protect his wife Devaki. When there's imminent danger, an intelligent person should try to avoid the dangerous position as far as possible. But if in spite of endeavoring by all intelligence, one fails to avoid the dangerous position, there is no fault on his part. One should try his best to execute his duties, but if the attempt fails, he is not at fault. Vasudeva thought of his wife as follows: for the present, let me save the life of Devaki, then later on, if there are children, I shall see how to save them. He further thought, if in the future I get a child who will kill Kamsa, just as Kamsa is seeking, then both Devaki and the child will be saved, because of the law of providence is inconceivable. But now, some way or the other, let me save the life of Devaki. There is no certain...
So what does everyone think of this approach that Kamsa has taken, or rather that Vasudeva is taking? The way he's explained, he's trying to convince Kamsa. So any thoughts on this?
I mean, it's trying to pacify Kamsa to say, it's not as bad as it looks, and you should be protecting your sister as your child. So he's trying to give those sort of thoughts in Kamsa's mind, but obviously Kamsa isn't listening or hearing or making sense to him. He's just got one-track mind, i.e. to kill Devaki, and that's it. So no reasoning is going in his head. And what Vasudeva is also trying to do is sort of sitting on a fence as well to say, if you do this, you'll get, trying to pacify him in different ways. So, but he's not succeeding.
Yes. So it's a difficult situation. I mean, even if I play devil's advocate for a moment, then imagine being like in Kamsa's situation, right? This voice like proclaims from the sky that you're going to die from the child of your sister. Right? His reaction is like, So and so Vasudev's having to deal with that as well. However, obviously, Kamsa's reaction is quite strong, isn't it?
Yeah.
That he's to the point he's not even listening. Yeah.
But he listened to the Akashvani as it was, quite clearly, but nothing else seems to be going in his head.
He didn't question that, yeah.
Continue.
Please. Yeah.
There is no certainty how a living entity contracts a certain type of body, just as there are no certainty how a blazing fire comes in contact with a certain type of wood in the forest. When there is forest fire, it is experienced that the blazing fire sometimes leaps over one tree and catches another by the influence of the wind. Similarly, a living entity may be very grateful, may be very careful in the matter of executing his duties, but it is still very difficult for him to know what type of body he's going to get in the next life. Maharaj Bharata was very faithfully executing the duties of self-realization, but by chance he developed a temporary affection for a deer. In his next life, he had to accept the body of a deer. Vasudeva,
Does anyone know that story of Maharaj Bharat? I could share. Not everyone may know that story. Would anyone like to share that story? I know we've got Madhvi Mataji who's joined us. Can you hear us, Mataji?
Yes, we can hear you.
Would you like to share that story about Maharaj Bharat and how he became a deer?
Yeah, Maharaj Bharat was living forest, and once he found a deer injured. No, just correct me. I might be a little bit going wrong. I think his mother was killed and the baby, so he brought him home, and then he thought he hasn't got anyone, so he tried to feed him and all that. And while doing that, he got so attached with him, so he forgot his duties were on the side, with Krishna. So in the next life, he became a deer.
Yeah. So this is the point that's coming out here is that you have to be very faithful to executing your spiritual duties. So although he was very, very advanced spiritually, Maharaj Bharat, he became distracted by taking care of this baby deer. So because he obviously by nature had a very soft heart, he was soft-hearted, was very spiritually advanced, but that was like misdirected. His soft heart was misdirected into taking care of the deer. And so then he became a deer because he was remembering a deer when he died. So it comes to that point of like just wherever the mind is at the time of death, that's where you go, that's the body you get. Of course, ultimately Maharaj Bharat, he became self-realized. After the life of a deer, he became Jad Bharat. And then he was living like an avadut. He was completely detached from everything because he'd gone through this whole experience of being a deer, being the king of the world, being a deer, and then he was completely detached from the world. So, and then he attained perfection. Okay.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Also, what I think, Maharaja Bharat, it's okay. He wanted to look after baby deer, but he was spending too much time with deer than what he should. So in that case, what happened? He got fully absorbed in looking after deer, and then because of that, he got too much attached. And then he couldn't think anything else.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Prabhu.
Vasudeva, after deliberating on how to save his wife, began to speak to Kamsa with great respect. Although Kamsa was the most sinful man, sometimes it happens that a most virtuous person like Vasudeva has to flatter a person like Kamsa, a most vicious person. This is the way of all diplomatic transactions. Although Vasudeva was deeply aggravated, he smiled outwardly. He addressed the shameless Kamsa in that way because he was so atrocious. Vasudeva said to Kamsa, "My dear brother-in-law, please consider that you have no danger from your sister. You are awaiting some danger because we have heard a prophetic voice in the sky. But the danger is to come from the sons of your sister who are not present now. And who knows, there may or may not be sons in the future. Considering all this, you are safe for the present. Nor is there a cause of fear from your sister. If there are no sons born of her, I promise that I shall, If there are any sons born of her, I promise that I shall present all of them to you for necessary action. Kamsa knew the value of Vasudev's word.
Sorry, if I could just add a comment here as well. I just did a little bit of background reading, which I wanted to share with you in this regard, because here it says, that is the way of all diplomatic transactions. And of course, we're dealing with kings here because Kamsa is a king, and also Vasudev is also a king. So I was just looking into this because I'd heard this before, and then I did a little bit of research to remind myself. So it was interesting because Prabhupada mentions in some place that there's 4 diplomatic principles on how you negotiate with people, especially someone in an unfavorable situation like this. So it's quite instructive. So it's mentioned that there's 4 principles. This is from the pastimes of Nrsimhadev and Prahlad Maharaj. So there's Sama, Dana, Veda, and Danda. So this is the 4 progressive stages to deal with in a diplomatic situation. The Sama means try to be passive, to try and pacify the other person. So we could see initially Kamsa was Vasudeva was trying to pacify Kamsa. He was speaking with him in a nice way, saying, don't harm your sister on this auspicious day. And then he was going through to like speaking in charity, and he was, saying be cultured. Then he was giving philosophy and trying to be reasonable with him. So this is all called Sama, to pacify the person. So that didn't work. Then the next principle is called Dana, to give some charity. And then the next principle is called Veda, which means giving consequence. That if you do this, then I will do this, or if you can't do that, then this is going to happen. I'm going to give you a consequence for your action. And then the 4th one, Danda, is punishment. So in this situation, it doesn't get to punishment. He doesn't actually punish Kamsa because he's known as a great diplomat, Vasudev. So actually what transpires in this conversation is that he goes just from Sama to Dana, and then it's finished. He tries to pacify him through philosophy and reasoning, and then he gives charity. He says, I'll give you my children. And then Kamsa backs off, But then the next stage is actually, if you don't do this, then I will respond, or some reaction will be there. And then if you don't do that, then I'll punish you now. So you can see how he was very cultured in his approach, right? Sometimes we think in these type of transactions, we just, want to punish the person. But he didn't do that immediately, He didn't want to cause a scene on the wedding day. We didn't want to immediately say, if you don't listen to me, and, he didn't give any consequences. He was going through this nice process of diplomacy. So I hope that's helpful.
Do you want me to continue, or somebody wants to take over?
As you like, Prabhu, if you wish to continue.
Okay, I'll continue. Kamsa knew the value of Vasudev's word of honor. He was convinced by his argument. For the time being, he desisted from the heinous killing of his sister. Thus Vasudeva was pleased and praised the decision of Kamsa. In this way, he returned to his home. Each year thereafter, in due course of time, Devaki gave birth to a child. Thus she gave birth to 8 male children, as well as 1 daughter. When the first one was born, Vasudeva kept his word of honor and immediately brought the child before Kamsa. It is said that Vasudeva was very much elevated from the famous for his word of honor, and he wanted to maintain this fame. Although it was very painful for Vasudeva to hand over the newly born child, Kamsa was very glad to receive him, but he became little compassionate with the behavior of Vasudeva. This event is very exemplary. For a great soul like Vasudeva, there is nothing considered to be painful in the course of discharging one's duty. A learned person like Vasudeva carries out his duties without hesitation. On the other hand, A demon like Kansa never hesitates in committing any abdominal action. It is said, therefore, that a saintly person can tolerate all kinds of miserable conditions of life. A learned man can discharge his duties without awaiting favorable circumstances. A heinous person like Kansa can act in any sinful way, and a devotee can sacrifice everything to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right. Somebody else can take over.
Sure. Shamarani, would you like to read?
Yes, yeah. Kamsa became satisfied by the action of Vasudeva. He was surprised to see Vasudeva keeping his promise and being compassionate upon him and pleased. He began to speak as follows. My dear Vasudeva, you need not present this child to me. I am not in danger from this child. I have heard that the 8th child born to you and Devki will kill me. Why should I accept this child unnecessarily? You can take him back. When Vasudeva was returning home with his firstborn child, although he was pleased by the behavior of Kamsa, he could not believe in him because he knew that Kamsa was uncontrolled. An atheistic person cannot be firm in this word of honor. One who cannot control the senses cannot be steady in his determination. The great politician Chanakya Pandit said, never put your trust in diploma or in a woman. Those who are addicted to unrestricted sense gratification can never be truthful, nor can they be trusted with any faith. At that time, the great sage Narad came to Kamsa. He was informed of Kamsa's becoming compassionate to Vasudeva and returning his firstborn child. Narada was very anxious to accelerate the descent of Lord Krishna as soon as possible. He therefore informed Kamsa that personality like Nanda Maharaj and all the cowherd men and girls and the wives of the cowherd men in Vrindavan, and on the other side, Vasudeva, his father Sursen, and all his relatives born in the family of Vrashni of the Yadu dynasty, were preparing for the appearance of the Lord. Narada warned Kamsa to be careful of the friends and well-wishers and all the demigods taking birth in those families. Kamsa and his friends and advisors were all demons. Demons are always afraid of demigods. After being thus informed by Narada about the appearance of the demigods in different families, Kamsa at once became alert. He understood that since the demigods had already appeared, Lord Vishnu must be coming soon. He at once arrested both his brother-in-law Vasudev and Devki and put them behind prison bars.
So this is an interesting turn of events, huh? So can someone summarize that? What just happened and why it might be surprising? Did anyone find that surprising?
I think it's because the demoniac nature of Kansa. He didn't have the truthfulness in him, and he was basically very worried about his death. He was not in that period of time, like that yuga, although he was very he wasn't that elevated that if he's born he has to die, so he was just worried about his death, and this is why he put both of them in the prison. I think that is why he had a very demoniac nature. He didn't have any compassion towards his sister or his brother-in-law.
Okay, but there's a certain change of events that happened, right? So did anyone pick that out? That was quite interesting. There was so what we read just now is that Vasudeva, he delivered his first child, right? And then Kamsa said, wow, you've actually brought me your child, right? And then he says, actually, it doesn't matter. It's the 8th child that's going to kill me. So take your child back. It's fine. Yeah. So he had a change of heart because Vasudeva was so honest and so decent a person that Kamsa was just pacified by that, and he was like, just, his heart was softened by that. But then an interesting thing happens here, that Narad Muni comes, right? And this is where the change of events. What does Narad Muni say? And why is it surprising? Is it surprising what Narad Muni says?
Shama Vallabh has her hand up.
Okay, yes. Please go on.
Hare Krishna. So I think that Narad Muni says that that the 8th, that any he says that that Kamsa should be careful of all the children actually, and I think the reason why he says that is because he wants the appearance of Krishna to come quicker. But he's just after wanting Krishna to appear in this world, but I guess in order to do that, he makes Kamsa think that actually Vasudeva is just playing with him, playing with his emotions, and so trying to make him change his mind about killing his sons. But actually, the reason is Narad Muni wants Krishna to come quickly.
Yeah. So it's unusual, isn't it? Because instead of, like, everyone thinks of Narad Muni as being a great devotee, and he's going to be, having a certain type of attitude, he actually says, hurry up, what are you doing? He goes to Kamsa and he encourages him, isn't it? So actually Kamsa then, because he has this flickering mind, he again changes his mind, and he's like, oh, maybe I should just put them in prison. Yeah.
I think it's also quite an interesting point that, the demons are always afraid of demigods. So no matter how powerful they are, at the end of the day, they are still frightened by the piety of the demigods.
That's also a good point, yeah. Can anyone else think of a different situation where Narad has behaved in maybe like in a contrary way? I could think of another. There's quite a few examples. Could anyone else think of one? Narad is very much a transcendental person. You can never know what he's going to do and why he does it.
Can I say something?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Yeah, I think it's said in a way that number 1 to 8, but how it's a circle? How can you say the first is the 8th child or the 8th will be the? So that really made Kamsa thinking, and that's why he wanted to kill all the.
Yeah, that's a really wonderful point. So it's not mentioned here in the detail, but Narad said to Kamsa, you can count from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, from 1st to 8th, or you can count backwards. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the 8th child or the first child could be the 8th child, depending on what you call the first child and what you call the 8th child is the oldest or the youngest. So yeah. So he confused Kamsa like that, and then Kamsa got scared. Okay, so do you want to read a little bit more, Mataji?
Yeah, sure. Within the prison, shackled in iron chains, Vasudeva and Devaki gave birth to a male child year after year, and Kamsa, thinking each of the babies to be the incarnation of Vishnu, killed them one after another. He was particularly afraid of the 8th child, but after the visit of Narada, he came to the conclusion that any child might be Krishna. Therefore, it was better to kill all the babies who took birth of Devaki and Vasudeva. This action of Kamsa is not very difficult to understand. There are many instances in the history of the world of person in the royal order who have killed father, brother, or a whole family and friends for the satisfaction of their ambition. There is nothing astonishing about this, for the demoniac can kill anyone for their nefarious ambitions. Kamsa was made aware of his previous birth by the grace of Narada. He learned that in his previous birth he was demon of the name Kalanimi, and that he was killed by Vishnu. Having taken his birth in the Bhoja family, he decided to become the deadly enemy of the Yadu dynasty. Krishna was going to take birth in that family, and Kamsa was very much afraid that he would be killed by Krishna, just as he was killed in his last birth. He first of all imprisoned his father, Ugrasen, because he was the chief king among the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andhaka dynasties. And he also occupied the kingdom of Sursen, Vasudev's father. He declared himself the king of all such places.
Okay, so this ends the purport for the first chapter, Krishna, the advent of Lord Krishna. So I was going to give an example, another example of Narada Muni. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes,
So
please.
there's another situation where Narada Muni, he acted in a contrary or unusual, unexpected way. So that was in the pastime of Lord Damodar when Krishna came as a baby. How did that pastime begin? It began by Narada Muni cursing the two sons of the Deva, Kuvera, the god of wealth, Kuvera. So he cursed them because they were acting improperly with women, and they were bathing naked in this Sarovar in the heavenly planets. So he cursed them because, as a sage, when he approached them, they were intoxicated and they didn't cover themselves up properly. So, in that situation, Narada Muni cursed them to become trees, and then because they begged for forgiveness, he said, "You'll become trees, but you can become trees in the house of Nanda Maharaj, so that when Krishna comes, then he'll free you from the life of a tree." So this is another situation where Narada Muni acts in an unusual way, or rather, it creates an unusual situation because Narada Muni, he has a further vision. He has a kind of more broader vision of what's going to happen. And we see this with saintly people often, that they may instruct us to do one thing, and we can't see what the result of that one thing is, but further down the line, it will have a different effect on us. So, so this is the thing, like not to judge at face value the actions of great saintly people. Does anyone have any comments or questions in this first chapter? Otherwise, we can move on. Okay. Shamrani, would you like to read, or should we hand over to the next person?
I don't mind, but yeah, maybe number 3 would like to read. I don't mind.
Okay, who's next? Nimisha?
Yeah. Chapter 2, Prayers by the Demigods for Lord Krishna in the Womb. King Kamsa not only occupied the kingdoms of the Yadu, Bhoja and Andhaka dynasties and the kingdom of Surasena, but he also made alliances with all the other demoniac kings as follows. The demon Pralamba, demon Baka, demon Kanura, demon Tranavarta, demon Agasura, demon Mustika, demon Arista, demon Dvivida, demon Putana, demon Kesi, and demon Denuka. At that time, Jarasandha was the king of Magadha province, known at present as Bihar state. Thus, by his diplomatic policy, Kamsa consolidated the most powerful kingdom of his time under the protection of Jarasandha. He made further alliances with such kings as Banasura and Baumasura until he was the strongest. Then he began to behave most inimically toward the Yadu dynasty into which Krishna was to take his birth. Being harassed by Kamsa, the king of the Yadu, Bhoja and Andaka dynasties took shelter in different states, such as the state of the Kurus, the state of the Panchalas, and the states known as Kekeya, Salva, Vidarbha, Nisada, Videha, and Kosala. Kamsa broke the solidarity of the Yadu kingdom as well as the Bhoja and Andaka. He made his position the most solid within the vast tract of land known at that time as Bharatavarsa. When Kamsa was killing the 6 babies of Devaki and Vasudeva one after the other, many friends...
If we could just pause there.
Sure.
Lots of names have come up, huh?
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if there were any questions, or if anyone wanted clarity. So essentially what's being said is that Kamsa gained a very powerful position because of his alliances with different demons here mentioned. And it also gives his position in respect to all of the dynasties. So a lot of the 9th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam explains in a lot of detail who all these dynasties were and how these different kings were related to one another. So maybe what I can do after is send out a chart, like a how do you call it, like a family tree chart, so you can see all of the different families. If that's interesting to you.
Please.
But essentially, if I could just summarize, so the Yadu dynasty has 2 branches, the Andaka and the Vrishni. And in the Vrishni dynasty is Vasudev, and in the Andaka dynasty is Kamsa. So that's where the wedding between Kamsa's sister Devaki and Vasudev happens. So Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, is also in the Vrishni dynasty. So that's kind of how this is all coming under the Yadu dynasty. So if you remember back to when we read Bhagavad Gita, we discussed there's a chapter called the Divine and Demoniac Natures. And it's mentioned there in that the types of qualities of divine and demoniac people. And we discussed then how that in previous times, divine and demoniac people used to live on different planets. And then they moved to the same planet. You'd find people who are divine and demoniac living on the same planets. And then in the Dwapara Yuga, it said that in this Yuga, which is being spoken of, Krishna's Yuga, that the divine and demoniac people lived in the same families. So you can see in this Yadu dynasty, there was very, very, very pious and very spiritually advanced people, but also extremely like heinous and envious and evil people like Kamsa in the same family. But then they said in Kali Yuga, which is the age we're now living in, these types of natures or mentalities are within the same body, within the same person. So this is also a noteworthy point.
Hare Krishna. Sorry. Hare Krishna. So Kans wasn't like a demon. He just had demonic characteristics, just like Duryodhan, for example. That's just what made them demonic, I'm guessing. Because from this, I got the feeling that he was associating with demons, and therefore he wasn't such a bad guy in the beginning, but turned like this way. That kind of area I'm not following right now. I get that whole idea where, in one family there were demonic and divine people, but yeah, so just to clarify that, please.
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, it's a bit of both. It's on one hand, it said that by his, you read correctly, I also picked that point up, that by his association with demonic people, his mind became like polluted. But it's also mentioned here, or maybe we haven't come across it yet, I'm not sure, that in his previous life, he was, oh yeah, it was mentioned. So he was Kalanimi in his previous life, and he was killed by Vishnu. And so he kind of had this enmity of Vishnu. He had this envy for Vishnu, even from his previous life, and that was kind of an impression in his subconscious mind. It was already there that he kind of had an envy towards God. And so both those things together kind of created this condition in his life. Yeah.
Thank you.
But furthermore than that, we can understand by nature, every soul is pure. Every soul is pure. It's just that there's more or less conditioning or contamination. So, and therefore he's born in Krishna's family and he's saved by Krishna at the end as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for your question. Would you like to continue, Nimisha?
Sure. When Kamsa was killing the 6 babies of Devaki and Vasudeva, one after the other, many friends and relatives of Kamsa approached him and requested him to discontinue these heinous activities, but all of them became worshippers of Kamsa. When Devaki became pregnant for the 7th time, a plenary expansion of Krishna, known as Ananta, appeared within her womb. Devaki was overwhelmed with both jubilation and lamentation. She was joyful, for she could understand that Lord Vishnu had taken shelter within her womb, but at the same time she was sorry that as soon as her child would come out, Kamsa would kill him. At that time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, being compassionate upon the Yadus, who were fearful due to the atrocities committed by Kamsa, ordered the appearance of Yogamaya, his internal potency. Krishna is the Lord of the universe, but he is especially the Lord of the Yadu dynasty.
Okay. So many points have come out here that we could maybe go into a little bit. So first of all, isn't it an amazing thing that Devaki, that she is the mother of Krishna, she's the mother of God, huh? But at the same time, she had so many of her children killed, right? She had to go through this horrible torture of having so many children killed, right? So what thoughts are do we have on that? Does anyone know? Anyone have any ideas? In one place, it's explained that there were 6 previous children, and then there was 7 and 8, which are different. But the first 6 children were considered the anarthas, the impurities. So they're considered to be representative of lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, and madness. These are considered to be the 6 anarthas, or unwanted qualities. So she removed all these qualities from within her, and then she became pure, in a state of pure bhakti. This is one explanation given of why, it's an analogous explanation of why Devaki had to have these different children, and then came Balarama and then Krishna. So she was then ready to have Krishna. Unless there's any comments. If anyone has comments or questions, just put your hand up or use the participant window to raise your hand, and we'll stop and discuss. Otherwise, can continue.
Yogamaya is the principal potency of the personality of Godhead. In the Vedas, it is stated that the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has multi-potencies. Parasya Saktir Vividaiva Shruyata. All the different potencies are acting externally and internally, and Yogamaya is the chief of all potencies. The Lord ordered the appearance of Yogamaya in the land of Rajabhumi in Vrindavana, which is always decorated with full with beautiful cows. In Vrindavana, Rohini, one of the wives of Vasudeva, was residing at the house of King Nanda and Queen Yashoda. Not only Rohini, but many others in the Yadu dynasty were scattered all over the country due to their fear of the atrocities of Kamsa. Some of them were even living in caves in the mountains. The Lord thus informed Yogamaya, under the imprisonment of Kamsa, are Devaki and Vasudeva, and at the present moment my plenary expansion, Sesa, is within the womb of Devaki. You can arrange the transfer of Sesa from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. After this arrangement, I am personally going to appear in the womb of Devaki with my full potencies. Then I shall appear as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, and you shall appear as the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda in Vrindavana. Since you will appear as my contemporary sister, and since you will quickly satisfy desires for sense gratification, people within the world will worship you with all kinds of valuable presentations, incense, candles, flowers, and offerings of sacrifice. People who are after materialistic perfection will worship you under the different forms of your expansions, which will be named Durga, Bhadrakali, Vijaya, Vaishnavi, Kumuda, Kandika, Krishna, Madhavi, Kanyaka, Maya, Narayani, Isani, Sarada, and Ambika.
Okay, so this is a description of who is Krishna's sister. Yeah. So for those of us who've been to the ISKCON London temple, this temple at Soho Street, we see her all the time, right? Who is she? You see her there all the time. You want to say?
Subhadra.
I couldn't see who said that.
Leela Vilasini.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Subhadra, yeah. So it's not mentioned here, of course, but we see her all the time at the temple. Subhadra Devi, that's Krishna's sister. That's Yogamaya, who's being spoken about. But the other aspect of Yogamaya, which is mentioned here, is so there's aspect that she's Krishna's little sister, but then there's also another aspect that there's another side to her. Did anyone pick that up?
She's also Mahamaya.
Yes, that's right. So she's Yogamaya and she's also Mahamaya. Or another name is Durga. I'm sure we're all familiar with. So that's Krishna's sister, Durga Devi. And she appears in Vrindavan in a different form as Subhadra. So I found that quite interesting, that we can see Subhadra in that way. And I was just thinking about how, do you want to ask a question? You're on mute, so I can't hear you.
Where does Subhadra grow up? Because from what we see, the little girl disappeared into the skies, like guns couldn't kill the girl. So
Yeah.
where is she raised? Because I get a bit like, who is she? I always thought maybe she's Vasudev's daughter from another one of his wives. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure if it's mentioned here, but there is a chapter towards the end which is all about Subhadra. It's like one of the very last chapters in the Krishna book. And so, of course, Subhadra is born, and then she appears before Kamsa as Durga, and then she disappears. And maybe someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but she grows up in the Vindhyachala mountains. Yeah. And there's a temple of Yogamaya that's there even now in Varanasi. So that's where she grows up. Yeah. I was just going to add one other point, that her name is Subhadra. And so she has these two aspects, which is she's Yogamaya, or she's Krishna's spiritual energy, but she's also Mahamaya, she's the material energy as well. She has both potencies, she has both powers. So her name Subhadra is very significant. I heard from a senior devotee who explained that Bhadra means auspicious, Subhadra means most auspicious. So depending on what's auspicious for you, Subhadra will give you that. So if you want Krishna, if you want to be close to Krishna, then Subhadra will give you auspiciousness in the form of spiritual consciousness. But if you have like material desires, and that's very dear to you, then Subhadra will grant you what is auspicious for you, material desires. So we can get whatever desires we want fulfilled by Subhadra, but we should know very clearly what is auspicious. We should know that spiritual desires are more auspicious. So she is all auspicious. She can grant you any desire. But make the desire spiritual, and you'll please Krishna, you'll please Subhadra, and also, of course, you'll be very pleased in the spiritual consciousness. We can still continue. Do you want to have another reader now, or would you like to continue, Nimisha?
Somebody else can continue if they want.
Okay, who is reader number 4? Sanjay?
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me all right?
It's a little bit faint.
Oh, hello? Is that any better? Hello?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, is that any better?
Yeah, that would be okay. If you can be a bit read loudly, that would be helpful.
Okay, sure. Krishna and Yogamaya appeared as brother and sister, the supreme powerful and supreme power. Although there is no clear distinction between the powerful and the power, power is always subordinate to the powerful. Those who are materialistic are worshippers of the power, but those who are transcendentalists are worshippers of the powerful. Krishna is the supreme powerful, and Durga is the supreme power within the material world. Actually, people in Vedic culture worship both the powerful and the power. There are many hundreds and thousands of temples of Vishnu and Devi, and sometimes they are worshipped simultaneously. The worshipper of the power Durga, or the external energy of Krishna, may achieve all kinds of material success very easily. But anyone who wants to be elevated transcendentally must engage in worshipping the powerful in Krishna consciousness. The Lord also declared to Yogamaya, my plenary expansion, Anantasesha, is within the womb of Devaki. On account of being forcibly attracted to the womb of Rohini, you will be known as Sankarsana and will be the source of all spiritual power, or Bala, by which one can attain the highest bliss of life, which is called Ramana. Therefore, the plenary portion, Ananta, will be known after his appearance either as Sankarsana or as Balaram. In the Upanishads, it is stated, Nayam Atma Bala Hinena Labhaya. The purport is that one cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Balaram. Bala does not mean physical strength. No one can attain spiritual perfection by physical strength. One must have the spiritual strength which is infused by Balaram, or Sankarsana, or Ananta or Shesha, is the powerful which sustains all the planets in their different positions. Materially, this sustaining power is known as the law of gravitation, but actually it is a display of the potency of Sankarsana. Balaram or Sankarsana is spiritual power, or the original spiritual master. Therefore, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is the incarnation of Balaram, is the original spiritual master. And the spiritual master is a representative of Balaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who supplies spiritual strength. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed that the spiritual master is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna.
Okay. So here we're introduced to another personality who is... Anyone? I want to try and make this interactive as possible, so I'm not the only one giving comments and questions here.
Lord Nityananda.
Yeah, Lord Nityananda is introduced here. More specifically?
Balaram.
Right. Yeah, so Lord Balaram is introduced. His name is given, the explanation of his name has been given. Yeah. And explanation of why he has this name, Balarama. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? The name of Balaram. Right. So I discussed a little bit about Subhadra and how she has these two aspects. So what thoughts do you have about Lord Balaram?
He gives you the spiritual strength. He is the guru. Well, he's the head of the guru as Nityananda, Lord Nityananda. So without his mercy, you cannot attain Krishna's bhakti. So, and all the spiritual, all the gurus now represents they are under Balaram. So if you get a mercy of your guru, then you're getting mercy of Balaram indirectly as well. So you should really try to please all the gurus. That would please Balaramji.
Yeah, that's a nice reflection. Anyone else would like to share anything about Lord Balaram from here?
I'm not too sure about this, Prabhu, but I think I was listening to one of the teachings, and I could be wrong. I might have forgotten, but I think it mentioned that Balarama is always he comes before Krishna, and he's always there just to make Krishna aware of what's coming. Or even in Vrindavan, he would always walk before him, just to make Krishna aware of, just in case there's any danger in front. Is that right, or I'm not too sure?
Yeah, that's a good observation. So maybe I could add to that. Why does Lord Balaram have that attitude or that approach or that particular kind of mood? Why is he there, like to care for Krishna? Does anyone know? Why does he play that role? What's significant about that?
Yeah, he plays that role because Balaram is acting as his elder brother, and he's playing that as a parental role. So Balaram is playing quite a few roles. He's serving Krishna in various ways. He's serving as like a parental, as a brother, as a friend, as a servitor. As Ananga Manjari, he's serving is a Madhurya Ras. So he's serving in various rasas to Krishna in the Krishna's pastime.
Yeah. So yeah, Lord Balaram, he takes this role of even though he's Vishnu Tattva, even though he's an incarnation of God himself. Just to add, just to kind of summarize maybe what you said, he still takes his position of serving Krishna. So Krishna acts as Swayam Bhagavan. It's said that Krishna is the original God. And it's said also that Lord Balaram is a Sevak Bhagavan. he is God in the mood of a servant, and this is exactly why he's empowered as guru, because he shows us how to serve Krishna in all these various ways. And so that's very extraordinary, that he is God himself, but he's showing us how to serve Krishna by his example. And that type of strength to serve God personally, that comes from him, from Balaram. He has that strength, and he can give it through the mercy of the Guru. Okay. So we've got some time. We can continue.
Thus ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yogamaya circumambulated the Lord and then appeared within this material world according to his order. When Yogamaya, the supreme power of the supremely powerful personality of Godhead, transferred Lord Shesha from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, both Devaki and Rohini were under Yogamaya's spell, which is called Yoga Nidra. When this was done, people thought that Devaki's seventh pregnancy had been a miscarriage. Thus, although Balaram appeared as the son of Devaki, he was transferred to the womb of Rohini to appear as her son. After this arrangement, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is ready to protect his unalloyed devotees, entered within the mind of Vasudeva as the Lord of the creation, with full inconceivable potencies. It is understood in this connection that Lord Krishna first of all situated himself in the unalloyed heart of Vasudeva and was then transferred to the heart of Devaki. He was not put in the womb of Devaki by seminal discharge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable potency, can appear in any way. It is not necessary for him to appear in the ordinary way by seminal injection within the womb of a woman.
Okay. So here's another twist in the story, right? What happens to Lord Balaram? Where does he appear? And what happens to him? Did anyone catch that?
Hi, Bob. He appeared in the womb of Devaki, but then he was transferred by Yogamaya to the womb of Rohini.
Yeah, that's right. So he went from a womb of one mother and moved to the womb of another mother. Okay. And so from the external vision, it looked like a very different thing, isn't it? How did it appear to everyone else?
He appeared as Rohini's son. And Devaki had a miscarriage.
Right, yeah. So here's a twist in the story. So it appeared like Devaki had a miscarriage, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so this is actually even more confusing now. Imagine if in Kamsa's situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm counting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then there's a miscarriage. It's like, does that count? Does that not count?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So even if you so-called play by the rules, Krishna can bewilder you still. And then it's explained how, of course, Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna don't appear through seminal discharge. So it's an immaculate conception. So we hear about this in other traditions also. Like Mother Mary, mother of Lord Jesus, also had an immaculate conception. So this is not different here. It's the same situation. So,
Sorry,
would you like to continue?
Just a very quick question. I should have asked you in the previous section. Sesha incarnation of Krishna, what is that?
That's a good question, yeah. So Sesha has been mentioned here a few times. Can anyone say who is Sesha?
Balaram. It's like his first expansion.
He's Lord Balaram. That's right, yeah. Can you give any more details on that? I can see.
Antashesha is basically the snake which Vishnu lies on.
Right. Yes. So is that clear? Yeah? Could everyone hear that?
No, it wasn't. It was quite faint. The sound was a bit faint.
Linisha, could you say a little bit louder?
So Anantashesha is the snake that Lord Vishnu lies on.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
This is another role that Lord Balaram plays. In the pastimes of Vishnu, he appears as the Anantashesha, or the snake, which we see Lord Vishnu reclining, lying on like a bed. He even acts as the bed of Vishnu, in the form of a snake.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, if we could continue.
When Vasudeva was sustaining the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, he appeared just like the glowing sun, whose shining rays are always unbearable and scorching to the common man. The form of the Lord situated in the pure, unalloyed heart of Vasudeva is non-different from the original form of Krishna. The appearance of the form of Krishna anywhere, and specifically within the heart, is called Dham. Dham refers not only to Krishna's form but also to his name, his qualities, and his paraphernalia. Everything becomes manifest simultaneously. Thus the... Oh, sorry.
If I could just, sorry, I hope you don't mind me commenting.
No, that's fine.
Is everyone familiar with this term, Dham? No? Okay. Does anyone like to summarize what that means in kind of the common context we use it? What is Dham, if I was to say the Dham?
Dham is a holy place.
Lord's place.
Holy place, right? Yeah. So we talk about Dham and what? Give some examples, maybe someone could give examples.
Mathura, Dwarka,
Vrindavan.
Navadvip, Mayapur.
Yeah. So how is it explained? So that's the holy place. The Dham is another word for holy place or pilgrimage place. So how is it explained in this context then?
His name, his qualities, his paraphernalia. Would this also include his pastimes? Just him in general?
Yeah, that's mentioned. But there's even a more specific answer. So what is being referred to here as the Dham?
The heart.
The heart of?
Vasudeva.
Right. So this is very interesting, isn't it? That even the devotee, even the pure devotee, if Krishna is residing in his heart, if he's always conscious that God is within his heart and he's having that reciprocation, that relationship, he's always in contact with God every moment, then that person is like a walking holy place. Huh? There was one Swami, one sannyasi in ISKCON some years ago. His name was Bhakti Tirtha Swami. I don't know if anyone has heard of him. Huh? So this is the pure devotee. He's a Bhakti Tirtha. He's a walking holy place. He's a Tirtha or a Dham. And wherever he goes, he brings that spiritual potency with him everywhere. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that? I thought it was very wonderful in the life of Srila Prabhupada, because Prabhupada, he came from Vrindavan. He lived in Vrindavan many years. And he came and he brought that with him in his heart. And Srila Prabhupada made Vrindavan in so many places of the world, isn't it? Huh? He opened so many temples, 108 temples he opened. And each place he installed Krishna, Radha and Krishna deities and other forms of Krishna. So he made all these places Dham by the potency of his own heart. So it was basically a walking holy place himself. So that's quite nice. You see that here it's giving a broader meaning to the word Dham. And so we can see devotees in that way as well. It's quite nice. So I noticed there's a couple more readers, so maybe we could just read one or two more paragraphs before we finish. So if Lanisha is there, and then Lakshmi.
Thus, the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full potencies was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki, exactly as the setting sun's rays are transferred to the full moon rising in the east. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thus entered the body of Devaki from the body of Vasudeva without being subject to any of the conditions of an ordinary living entity. Since Krishna was there, it is to be understood that all his plenary expansions, such as Narayana, and incarnations like Lord Narasimha and Varaha, were there with him, and they were also not subject to the conditions of material existence. In this way, Devaki became the residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is one without a second and the cause of all creation. Devaki became the residence of the Absolute Truth, but because she was confined within the house of Kamsa, she looked just like a suppressed fire, or like misused education. When fire is kept in a jug, the illuminating rays of the fire cannot be very much appreciated. Similarly, misused knowledge, which does not benefit the people in general, is not very much appreciated. So Devaki was kept within the prison walls of Kamsa's place, and no one could see her transcendental beauty, which resulted from her conceiving the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you, Lanisha. And we have one more reader. Sorry, make it quite brief, just to fit everyone in. We have Lakshmi, if you're still with us.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Kamsa, however, was the transcendental beauty. Saw the transcendental beauty of his sister Devaki, and he at once concluded that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had taken shelter in her womb. She had never before looked so wonderfully beautiful. He could distinctly understand that there was something wonderful within the womb of Devaki. In this way, Kamsa became perturbed because he was sure that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who would kill him in the future, had now come. Kamsa began to think, what is to be done with Devaki? Surely she has Vishnu and Krishna within her womb, so it is certain that Krishna has come to execute the mission of the demigods. And even if I immediately kill Devaki, his mission cannot be frustrated. Kamsa knew very well that no one can frustrate the purpose of Vishnu. Any intelligent man can understand that the laws of the god cannot be violated. His purpose will be served in spite of all impediments offered by the demons. Kamsa thought, if I kill Devaki at the present moment, Vishnu will enforce his supreme will more vehemently. To kill Devaki just now would be a more abominable act. No one desires to kill his reputation, even in an awkward situation. If I kill Devaki now, my reputation will be spoiled. Devaki is a woman, and she is under my shelter. She is pregnant, and if I kill her immediately, my reputation, the results of my pious activities, and my duration of life will all be finished.
Okay, thank you very much. So anyone have any thoughts on that paragraph just before we conclude now? Oh, I can see there's a hand raised. Shashi, is there?
Hello there. I was just actually thinking from this paragraph that why was Kamsa now sort of being quite thoughtful towards Devaki and compassionate almost? How come his view and his behavior changed to what he normally would be?
Yeah,
it's a good question. So he appears to be more thoughtful now, isn't it? I was going to address that as well, actually. So I'm glad you asked. I'm just conscious we only got a few minutes, so I'll try and summarize my thoughts. So here, the situation is that Kamsa's the thought has occurred to him that he could abort the baby in the womb, right? But what's interesting, and Prabhupada comments elsewhere, that even a demon like Kamsa he wouldn't do this because it was seen as such an it was just seen as like it was such an abominable thing to kill a child in the womb, that he thought I should at least wait for the child to be born, as he did with the other children, even though he knew that this is definitely Vishnu, this is definitely Krishna, because Devaki's effulgent now. So and Prabhupada comments that this is actually even someone who is, you know, a quote unquote demon has this consideration in former times, whereas in the modern day, for people to have abortions is like not even a second thought, not even a doubt, you know. Abortion is just such a common thing in today's society. So this is actually very instructive that, you know, someone as wicked as Kamsa in this situation didn't want to cross the boundary of aborting the child in the womb. Whereas in the modern day, it's, you know, this is the culture of people now. It's like not an unusual thing, right? So I think we can wrap up on this point unless anyone has any final comments or questions. No? All right then. So how was that for everyone? Was it okay? Do you like this format of reading together and discussing?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you like to pause in between and have the comments and questions as well?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just conscious that like I'm saying a lot and not everyone's getting a chance to speak. But I appreciate your comments and questions, so don't feel shy if you want to add anything. Because I want our format to be not that we want to try and read as much as we can and progress through the book as quickly as we can, but read in a more meditative way, in a more reflective and thoughtful way, and try and really imbibe some of the principles. Because there's so many powerful points made. Even every sentence could be, you know, taken and deconstructed and thought about. So I'm glad you like it. Of course, if you don't, then I'm sure you'll all leave. But thanks for sticking through. And we'll catch up again next Tuesday. I know we did the Fortunate People campaign the last couple of weeks. I'm actually part of that team, so I'm communicating with them about ways of that we can all do this as a group. If you just started this week, I'll explain next week again what Fortunate People is all about. So we won't do one this week, but next week what we're going to do is we're all going to do a mantra chant together for a campaign called Fortunate People, which I'll send the reminder of again in our WhatsApp group. So, so if you got your best dress on and you were expecting to do a chant today, I'm sorry to disappoint you. But next week we'll do a group chant, and I'll give more information as we get to that next week. Because they're improving their format of being able to do these chants. Just really briefly, actually. So Fortunate People is a campaign where they're trying to get 1% of the world population to chant Hare Krishna mantra once. And they've uploaded all of these chants to a website. And so it's a great way to get involved in this campaign, because the more people around the world that chant the Hare Krishna mantra or hear about it or become aware of it through this campaign will benefit, of course. It'll make the world a more peaceful place. So I'll leave it at that, and look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Our mute.
Hare Krishna.